Where do we begin? What is going on, everyone? We find out through Adam Schefter on Twitter that the best case scenario for the Philadelphia Eagles is that Nate Sudfeld will be back in 6 weeks. That is the best case scenario, so I'm not going to put all my eggs in that basket realistically the way my mind thinks. We're probably looking at 8 weeks. But before we dive into this, do not forget about my promo code with SeatGeek. Use the promo code BROADS and you will receive $20 off of your total ticket purchase. Nate Sudfeld. I'm thinking more like 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Why I don't think I would make a move is this. I would like a Sam Bradford over a Cody Kessler. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I would like someone better than Cody Kessler. I know Sam Bradford is a name out there. I know the name Colin Kaepernick has been thrown out there, and I'm really not going to get into that whole concept because I just don't think the Eagles are going to go that route. But I would like someone better than Cody Kessler. At the same time, there's such a long process to learn a playbook. And keep in mind, the length that takes, well, realistically, you're going to have Nate Sudfeld back by then. And Nate Sudfeld's not just going to come back and be automatic. There's going to be rust that has to come off because you sit around for a while, you have surgery, there's going to be dust. There's no denying that. But my point being is, if Carson Wentz does go down within the first 3 weeks of the regular season, because keep in mind, we still have ways to go until the season even starts, and then you're talking about maybe the month of September, right? So 4 games in. I mean, you take a look at the preseason games left. The Jags, the Ravens, the Jets. Okay, well, there's 3 weeks there. You have the regular season with the Redskins, the Falcons, the Lions, the Packers. That's what we're playing with, the month of September. If Carson Wentz gets injured in those 4 weeks of the regular season, one, my biggest concern isn't the backup quarterback at that point. My biggest concern is, what the hell are we going to do with Carson Wentz? With all due respect, my biggest concern at that point is, what's the deal here? What do we do? How serious is it? How do we move forward as an organization? What's the game plan, right? I mean, realistically, yeah, if Carson Wentz is getting banged up within 4 weeks of the regular season, I'm a little bit more concerned with that than I am with our backup quarterback. Also, if he does get nicked up and say he can't play 1 week, say he can't play 2 weeks, so he's out 2 games in that 4-week span of September, Cody Kessler is going to have to go in there and win you 1 football game. If he goes 1-1 in those 2 games, you live with it. You live with it. That's what backups do. They're serviceable guys that can hopefully win you a football game. You're just going to have to go in with blind optimism and hope he can get the job done. Because he started games in this league. You're not throwing Hunter Brody out there, some guy who can't throw a lick. You're not throwing Clayton Thorson out there. But you're throwing a guy who's a lower-end quarterback, but he has some experience, and he's going to have to help you win a football game against, the Falcons or the Lions or something of that nature. My mind process easily goes to the fact that you don't just pick up a quarterback. They're your number 2 automatically. They know your playbook. They're going to be the Nick Foles. That's just not how it works. And I know that's how this fan base thinks because we saw Nick Foles step in when Carson Wentz went down. We are really focusing on something that is so not extreme. And the fan base believes it's super important based off of recent things that happened in this city. The main focus is Carson Wentz. That's where the eyes should be set. We shouldn't be worried about the Nate Sudfeld, the Sam Bradford, the Cody Kessler. We shouldn't be thinking about that. We should be thinking about Carson Wentz going out there and doing damage. We should believe in Carson Wentz being protected by the offensive line so he can make plays happen. Last year, early in the season, the offensive line was abysmal. On top of Carson Wentz holding on to the football too long, it was just a bad mix. we should be focused on Carson Wentz more than we should be focused on the backup quarterback role. Because Carson is way more important. And speaking of that, and I know I asked this question before, but things have changed now. The mentality has changed because we saw injuries. Because we saw Nate Sudfeld go down. Because we saw Cody Kessler kind of work in his hand a little bit. Is it even worth throwing Carson Wentz in any action this preseason? I think there's a chance we won't see him a lick. He hasn't been a guy that thrives early in the season because he had a lot of reps in preseason games. It's not the same as it used to be. It used to be you play the 1 or 2 drives in the first week of preseason. Then you'll play a quarter. Third week, you'll play a whole entire half. And then the fourth week, you kind of take it easy. It's not like that anymore. You saw what the Titans were doing. They're sending blitz packages, and it's a nightmare out there. The coaching staff of all NFL teams feel like they get more out of environments that are more structured in practice. And even when they do practices within the league and have another team from the other league come over, whether it's the AFC or the NFC, they do the whole practices together. So it can be more in a structured environment. That's where they get more out of it. So I don't even think we're going to see Carson Wentz at all. I want to. I want to. But is it worth it? A couple days ago, my mindset on this was, you got to throw him into it. You have to. You can't play scared. You got to put your guy out there. But now, a couple days later, is it worth it? I mean, truly, is it? What's the benefit? He has a quarter of solid football. Okay, what's the worst? Let's weigh the options. The worst is, okay, something bad can happen. Is the 3 drives worth it? Can he get those 3 drives in practice? Where the intensity is not fully the same, but it's still enough? I do know that Carson hasn't played in a while. He hasn't been in the pocket in a legitimate game in a long time. So I believe there's value in getting some snaps in a game where there's guys on the other side that are trying to hit you real hard. But can we weigh the options? This is a meaningless 3 games that we have left. I don't know. I'm torn. Because I want to see him get some reps, but at the same time, I don't know if it's worth it. At the end of the day, it's this simple. Yes, to an extent, the backup quarterback is important. But I believe we're looking too heavily into this. Nate Sudfeld will be back 6 to 8 weeks. It's only the second week of preseason coming up, so there's some time. He might miss 1 month of football. If Carson Wentz ends up getting hurt within the 1 month that Nate Sudfeld isn't here, we're going to have to rely with a Cody Kessler for 1 or 2 games, or whatever the case may be, until Nate Sudfeld comes back or Carson Wentz comes back. But our mindset should be more on Carson Wentz having a year where he's going to be a leader, be a difference maker. You can even see his body. He looks like he's such in good shape, and I believe mentally he's in a good spot. I believe he's prepared himself really well. He cares so much about the game. He cares so much about his teammates. He cares so much about football and putting himself in such a great position. I have to believe that he did that this offseason, so I'm excited for that. I want that to be the focus. I don't want the focus to be who's going to come in if Carson Wentz gets hurt. We also made a trade, by the way. We made a trade. Howie Roseman doesn't take days off. No, it's not anything crazy, but we traded an O-lineman, Ryan Bates, for someone off the D-end position, 25 years old. We got him from the Bills, but he played around the league before. He was a former third-round pick. He played 61 games, 25 starts, and had 9 sacks in his career. He last played with the Lions and had 4 sacks. So he's a guy coming off the edge who has experience, who played 61 games, like I said, and started 25 times over Ryan Bates. We have him over Ryan Bates, a guy who realistically didn't have much opportunity here. Let's be real. So I like the move. It's a good move out of Howie Roseman. It's really not that much of a high risk. Low risk, high reward possibility. I like it. I like the fact that he actually has experience. Like, he's a serviceable player, as it seems. Where will he fit in this line? We're going to have to see how he compares to the Josh Sweats of the world. Because he's battling for that last spot, right? We're going to have to see how he battles it out with him. So with that being said, I want to hear your thoughts on the trade, on the backup quarterback thing. My opinion on it, I'm not really going out of my way to make moves. Of course, I would feel more comfortable with someone like Sammy Sleeves, believe it or not. Not by much, but I would. Still, though, the amount of time it takes to learn the playbook, to get comfortable, to make it all happen, well, by then, you're talking about Nate Sudfeld realistically being back and bringing this guy in to learn the playbook. Like, it only matters for such a limited amount of time, because by the time the regular season starts, Nate Sudfeld's not missing much. We need to be focusing on the right things. And that's Carson Wentz being a dog. Being the 2017 Carson. That's what we need to focus on. Not who's replacing Nick Foles. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.